Hello, hello. Here we go again. This is attempt number 2. Technology did not cooperate. And what was pretty funny, folks, is it was right as I was talking with Steve and saying technology does not cooperate, and then boo, flatline, Steve's gone. So you know what? I've done this enough times to know that can happen, and that's okay, and we just have to roll with it. So my team is awesome. Jessica has jumped in and saved the day and set us up with a new stream. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to click over to my friendly Facebook page and make sure that we are live streaming. So there we go. Make sure I see the live stream. And it does look like we are streaming. Check number 1. And let's see here. Don't know if we are live streaming on. All right. And I just got the message. We are live streaming on LinkedIn. This is good. All right. So far, so good. I'm not going to jinx us. Technology is our friend. And we are just going to roll. I'm going to go ahead and get our guest introduced. So I have the one and only Steve Burke. Steve is the CEO of Texadia Systems. They are a Dallas-based residential and commercial technology integration firm. They are one of the fastest growing firms in the business. And here we already have a fan. I'll put it on the screen. Chris Pruitt says, big fan of Steve. He runs a great organization in Dallas. And first of all, Chris, thanks for tuning in, sir. And yes, Steve does run a great company. I know that I've learned a lot from Steve in the years that I've known him. And we're all going to learn a lot here because we're gonna do it publicly in this forum. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Steve. And we'll give this a shot number 2 here. Steve, second time's a charm.
Ron, I'm just so glad that neither one of us are very important, that this isn't that big a deal. But if this was an earnings call, we might be in trouble.
We might. That is so true. But you know what? We already have some of our audience tuning back in. We had some folks that were tuned in a few minutes ago, and then we dropped the feed. But I see them already starting to tune back in. So thank you, folks out there watching live. And if you're listening on podcast, you don't know what we're talking about because this is the first time you're hearing us. So that is okay. Steve, let's give the foundation here. Give our audience a little bit of an understanding. What is Texadia? Who is Texadia? And what's your role within the company?
Yeah. First of all, Ron, thank you very much for having me. It's an honor to be on here. I've been listening and watching the podcast and always get something out of it, listening to other entrepreneurs and other folks talk about how they do things and the opportunities and the challenges they see. So thanks for having me. A little bit about Texadia. We are a design build audio-visual integration firm. And I'm so glad that you said resi-mercial because I'm not resi-mercial. I am a commercial integrator that does residential. And I'm one of the few that my core competency is design build on both sides. And so I'm comfortable in the space, in both spaces. I've built a business based on that model, and I've had success with both of those industries. So, you know, there's a lot of things. We could talk about that for 3 or 4 hours. But Texadia itself was started in 2013. I ran another integration company for 10 years. You know, was thankful for that opportunity, but had the entrepreneurial spirit. And, you know,
that company you ran, Steve, was that a residential operation, a commercial operation?
So it was
maybe some perspective there.
Yeah, great question. So it was a commercial group, and we had started a residential group within the organization, and they had failed, and I was having success in Dallas, and I wanted to keep it going, and they did not. And so we it parted ways, but I knew the opportunity was there. This was coming out of 2000, just post 2008. You could just start to see the change in the landscape and the houses being built. I don't think I forecasted everything that happened, or I would have got into the home building business. But I did think that there was a place for technology within homes, and personally was very interested in it, and still am today.
Got it. So you, in 2013, started Texadia. Now that name obviously is making reference to the state of Texas. Are you a Texas born and bred individual, or you're definitely demonstrating your Texas pride there?
I am not, Ron. I was born in Montreal, Canada, and I had a buddy of mine, so he used to call me a Texadian, which I then transferred into the name of my fantasy football team. And I had written my business plan. I had everything ready to go for my new company, and I couldn't come up with a name. And, had about 40, 50 things written down, and I just wrote down Texadia, and I said, you know what, I've got to pull the trigger, and I'm going for it. And here we are. So, you might get Texadia. We get Texadelphia. We've gotten Texadia, but we are Texadia. So,
got it. Now I know, and I know the answer to this because I asked you just before we went live, but I think it's fun for the audience. If a lot of our listeners think about when they started their business, if they're an owner operator, a lot of businesses have a slow and steady growth model where, if they hit, I'm making up some numbers here, and obviously it would scale differently if it's residential or commercial, but maybe in year one, $500,000 in revenue would be fantastic. And year two, we break $1 million. You were on the cover, and this was my memory. I remember looking at one of our industry mags, and I think it was CE Pro, correct?
Yeah.
It was CE Pro, and I remember this company, Texadia, and they're doing millions of dollars. And so maybe you could tell your ramp from launch to growth. What did that look like?
Yeah, I was fortunate. I had a non-compete agreement that I honored, so I had a year to prepare. And I was fortunate that a lot of the team members that I had built in Dallas came to work for me, and we hit the ground running. So I think we did 2.8 our first year. We made a small acquisition on the residential side, and I think by year two we had done 5.4, and then we went to 6.2 year three. So
wow,
rapid growth. But I had a tremendous amount of experience with me, and people who know me, I don't think anybody's ever going to tell you I'm the sharpest guy in the world, but I think my strength is surrounding myself with incredibly smart people. And so I really focus on that part of the business. I know what I'm good at, and that's finding business. And then I need people who are smarter than me that can go out there and make it work. So, that's how we built Texadia. It wasn't me. It was a collection of people who worked really hard and did great work.
You guys came out of the gate firing on all cylinders and growing rapidly. And we in the world, yourself included, and myself and all those listening, we've been through, on some occasions, hell and back the last 24 months. How has that been for Texadia?
Let me take a deep breath. My first answer to that question is we're still here.
Amen.
And the second part of that question is that we are stronger, we're smarter, I think we're tougher, and we talked about it earlier, all the things you learn from failure. It was rough. we were fortunate with the PPP, but the residential business has been booming, right? My commercial is just now starting to open up, and I expect Q4 and 2022 to be huge years for us. Just a ton of projects that we see coming up on the horizon. So, it was painful, and I think it was painful for a lot of people. I had just made a huge investment in my office. Took on 15,000 square feet, was forecasting 20 to 25% growth, and we were just trying to sustain. We're very fortunate in that we've got some very big relationships, strong relationships with billion-dollar organizations. And so, we're really good once we get in with a customer of keeping them. And so we do a good job of that, and that really helped bring us through. And then residentially, it was nuts, right? Just trying to keep up with that. So, we've been real fortunate, and we're excited about what's coming up.
Is Resi still nuts? I mean, do you primarily do work in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, or do you travel around Texas or outside of Texas?
So, I use this great company, One FireflyOne. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but
I've heard of them, but you can tell me more.
They actually generated a lead for me in Austin, really nice one, but I decided we weren't going to go do it. So residentially, we're going to stay, within a couple hundred miles. Well, Austin's 180, but really 100 miles. And I did send that lead to the person that was on your show last week, Mr. Pearson. So I hope he gets some success with that. But
no way, that's crazy. That's awesome.
Absolutely. But commercially, I'm doing work all over the country. And so with the relationships that we've built, they know our teams, we know their processes, and we get asked to travel. So we're wrapping up a project in Tempe. We'll be heading down to Houston in a couple weeks, and there's plenty of work to do here in Dallas. So it's an interesting time for us.
When you said commercial starting to open up, what type of projects are opening up? And I know people listening are in different parts of North America, and they're in different parts of the world, so their experience may not be matching yours.
Yeah.
But what are you seeing change?
So, one, we're fortunate that we are in the great state of Texas, and it's a very friendly working state. People who were looking at making commercial real estate moves, first quarter of 2020, it just, the pause button was hit. And so now, if you think the world's going to go back to some sense of normalcy, and you're a big company, are you really going to train a millennial over video conferencing while they're at home? The answer is no. You might have a hybrid, but you need to have space, and so they're starting to look at opening up space. My personal belief is they're going to get more space. And maybe open up cubicles a little bit and have more room so that people aren't jammed on top of each other, which was, the old model. But, if you're a culture person and you want to build a culture, you got to be with people. And, I know I sell video conferencing systems for a living. I know how effective they are. I know how great they are. For having one-off meetings and being able to talk to people or being able to do stuff remotely. It's incredible and it's great, but it doesn't beat being able to walk out of your door, go down to the engineering department and say, hey guys, you have a few minutes for me to go over this project. So that is opening up, and so when somebody relocates their office and they move from 25,000 square feet to 50,000 square feet, that's structured cabling, that's security, access control, and that's 15 to 20 huddle rooms, conference rooms, board rooms, training rooms, etc. So that is opening up again, and then you can add in hotels, which is going to be ramping up. You talked about Infocom and Cedia. People want to get back to interacting with human beings. I know I do. I know you do. And I think the rest of the world does too.
I completely agree. I'm praying and hoping that the Delta doesn't go too bananas and take us off course this fall. But so I'm putting that out there. That,
I'm with you 100%.
It's getting a little wonky out there, but for now we're staying the course.
Absolutely.
And we're looking forward to seeing you and your team and our other friends and folks around the industry here real soon. You mentioned culture, and there's this, and you made even a comment that culture is easier to build when you're face to face. And what do you see? What is the culture at Texadia? Like what was it before the pandemic, and what is it? Is it different now? Is there anything that's changed? And maybe just talk to us about that.
I don't want to say things changed. I would say that for me, it's become even more important. You look at just the ability to get resources for all of us is very difficult. And so, I just think it's important to let people know that you care, show that you care, and then set an expectation as an organization that you want to be the best, right? And for us, we call it the bar, but be the bar, right? And one of our techs, JD, yesterday, client went out of their way, wrote an incredibly nice note to us, with just thanking us for his efforts and how much she enjoyed working with our company. And that, to me, is what it's all about. JD, just demonstrated, his passion and his commitment to being excellent. And that's what we're trying to get everybody in the organization to focus on.
Any ideas, or maybe ideas or practices that you'd be willing to share with those listening around how to get your team aligned around that? You said we strive for excellence, or we call it the bar. Any maybe methods, meeting practices, or ongoing activities from you down through leadership, down through the company, or inversely, that you think lead to a company having better alignment around what I'll call the mission and the core values?
Yeah.
Anything?
And I think it's the hardest part, because there's so many assumptions made that the message is getting put out there and that everybody gets it and is doing it. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that with my sales folks. I'm guilty of that with my operations folks. And so, one of the things we strive from a leadership is to set one-on-one meetings and just have a talk, right? What's working, what's not? How are the people doing below you? Are they worn out? Are they burned out? Are they excited? And we're able to address issues that way, and then kind of reaffirm, what our core values are, and then get back on track, right? And it's so easy, whether you have a personal issue, you have a bad day, every one of us has had that. And, you got to pick yourself up. But when you show up to work, we want your A game, right? And, going back to the sports analogy we discussed earlier, we're a team, and it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about we, right? And so how do we work together? How can I help you be successful? How can I put you in a safe environment where you want to perform and do your best? And We're not perfect at it by any means, but it's what we strive for from a leadership standpoint. And I really feel that the people that are driving that do a really good job for us.
I've heard you say once or twice with me and in our various meetings, and you said the statement that, Ron, what is it? Second place is first loser.
Yeah.
And by the way, I've been known to say that once or twice as well. My son is 12 and he's been known to say that once or twice. But all jokes aside, you made a really profound argument as to why it has to be that way. And you made it about jobs. Do you want to maybe expound on that? Like, there's a proposal on the street.
Absolutely. We could go bid on 50 projects and come in second place on every one of them. And then we have no revenue coming in. I'm not able to provide benefits for my people. I have to let people go. I'm not able to compensate people the way I want to compensate them, and I'm not able to have this deliverable that I want to be exceptional. And so you got to wake up every day and come in with a mindset that you're going to do your absolute best to win. You may not win, right? But you've got to have the mindset that you want to compete and that it's real world. And we've got some really, really strong competitors out in our marketplace in Dallas. I mean, it's incredibly competitive. What do you do to differentiate? What's your follow-up? How long does it take you to reply to people? All these little things that go through a sales process and a deliverable process that can make people say, man, that was a great experience working with Texadia, and I can't wait to tell my friends or go shout it out on the internet.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I love, I think it was ingrained in me even as a child, and my dad would joke with me and in a loving way, but I'd get second place and he's like, Ron, you realize second place is first loser. So my dad was not of the generation that everyone gets a participation award. That is not in his DNA. That's not what he grew up in, and that was ingrained in me as well. And so, and many that know me well, I'm a very competitive person. I love competition. I love the sport of competition.
But that's what it's all about, right? And that's what we're here to do every day. And, I can tell you from an early age, I never liked to lose. And even through my, development as a salesperson, I would be in a bad mood for a couple days after a loss. And, I see it with my salespeople and they get upset and I'm like, go take the day off, go have a couple beers, go do whatever it is, and then let it go.
Yep.
Right. Because yesterday's gone. And we got to get focused on people who want to work with us and on how we can generate revenue with somebody else. So, I wish we were at 100% on our close rate, but that's not reality. And, so going back to your mindset, you got to be competitive. You got to want to win. You got to want to put in the work, and you're going to see results. I mean, that's what it's all about, and it's just a true sports metaphor, no matter which way you look at it.
I mentioned it last week when I interviewed our friend down in Austin, Chris, in his amazing company. So anyone should tune in to show 179. I want to say I mentioned it there, but now you're making me think of mentioning it again, and that is I just finished the book called Winning. Goodness, I'm going to flip to my phone here because I'm going to mess up his last name, and I don't want to do that. By Tim Grover. So Tim Grover, Winning. Steve, have you read that book?
I haven't, but it's going to be next on my list.
It's fantastic. He was Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's trainer, and he just got into the psychology and across the sports world and business world of the most elite performers on planet Earth, and he's been their coach and trainer, and just some really neat, profound takeaways. So you would, I'm sure, would love it. You don't need it, but you probably would relate to a lot of the messages that are being delivered.
But Ron, that's the whole thing, right? With development, and you think you know everything, Well, I forget 90% of the things that I look at, and so, you got to constantly be trying to improve your game, right? And whether it's a book, a podcast, I get a lot out of just listening to the folks on your show because I relate to them really well. And, it's interesting because we all face the same challenges. We might handle them differently, but at the end of the day, we're all competing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I do this show for you and for your peers in the industry. And I obviously love doing it and I love learning. And I similarly consume content in a similar format, but for marketing agency owners and for entrepreneurs. Like, I can't get enough of this other perspectives because we're not all recreating the wheel. A lot of the problems, people problems, HR problems, sales problems, marketing problems, operations problems, finance problems, scaling problems, economic problems, microeconomy, macroeconomy, we're all in the same battle.
Yeah.
And so there's just so much we can learn from each other. And so let's, on that theme of learning.
Yes.
And by the way, I'm acknowledging, I'm getting lots of comments over here. Let me give Mario a shout. He says, yes, Montreal. Thank you, Mario. Thanks for tuning in. And we have our longtime listener, Tomas, tuning in from Panama. Thank you, sir. And thank you for everyone else. I have Maggie and Wes and Angel. They've tuned in. So thanks, folks. I'm going to go back in time again, only because it's occasionally comes up in industry talk. And I know that you and I have both gone through this, and there might be a lesson or two learned here that would be beneficial. You did an acquisition early at the inception of your business. And in that process, we don't have to get into anything that's not appropriate, but what went well in that process, and what are some lessons learned in that process that others might benefit from?
Yeah. What went well was, we had, two guys that worked for me that were really good revenue generators, aggressive, young, hungry. And what went wrong from my perspective was I didn't put an operating agreement in place. And, at some point, with a multi-million-dollar pipeline, they said, hey, we're going to go do it on our own. And I was left with no recourse.
So let's slow down there. Let's pull on that thread. You didn't put an operating agreement. So now, knowing what you know, what is an operating agreement? And if it had been done, quote, air quotes here, people, properly, what would you have done?
Yeah. So an operating agreement is really just kind of the rules of engagement for the purchase and the departure, right? You're putting in all the potential things that you can think of that may happen. And you may miss some, but the more you have in there, the clearer it will be when you choose to part ways, right? And so it's really a legal document that outlines that and gives you the ability to hold the other party accountable if they don't follow that process, which happens quite often.
But Steve, that sounds very expensive. You're going to have to pay lawyers thousands of dollars and take many of your hours and many of the other parties' hours. Can't you just go do a deal and wing it and figure it out?
Oh, shit.
You're here. You're here. I think he doesn't know we're here. Give me a second, folks. I see you and hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear? All right, guys. Okay. You can hear me?
I can't hear you, Ron.
Okay. Okay. All that needs to happen. Refresh. Give me 1 second, folks. That should do it. But know that I hear you and see you. And I know our audience is on the edge of your seat. We have more people tuning in, so thank you, folks. But
you there, Ron?
I'm here. Yes, I am here.
Okay, we're back.
We're back? We're back?
So I have a sensor in this room that I'm in, and if I don't move, it shuts off the system. And so I might have to get up and do some
get up and do a dance. Do the jiggly dance.
Yeah, I might have to do that. So anyways, I apologize about that.
No, that's okay. What I was going to say, or what I was saying when and don't worry, in the podcast, we'll edit that out. But our live audience, they get to watch all the fun. Great day. Keep rolling. Thanks, Paul. Paul Starkey, the one and only, just tuned in and gave us an attaboy and told us to keep going. So we're going to do that, Paul. Thank you, sir. So in the concept of doing buying or selling a business, I've heard many people complain that lawyers are expensive and that all the time and difficult questions, it's hard to schedule and make the time to do all of that. What's your strong argument as to that doesn't matter, you still need to do it?
I would say that it'll be the best money you ever spend. There's so many different things that can happen from an acquisition standpoint, stuff you can't even think about. And you don't know when it's going to happen. And so to have a tight operating agreement that says, hey, this is the rules, whoever wants to end the relationship, is it worth 50 grand and you're buying a $2 million business? It's worth 100 grand. It's worth 150. And so
don't tell too many lawyers, Steve. They might hear you and start raising their prices.
But it goes back to how much time are you going to waste chasing this, or what do you have the possibility of losing, right? And so it's just really important, and I would encourage anybody that goes through that an acquisition to find a good lawyer and vet them and make sure that it's somebody that is going to take care of you.
No, I completely agree. I think that's sound advice. And Paul is here Paul is tuned in. He's from Vital Management, and I knew they're doing lots of coaching and grooming of businesses and lots of what might become future acquisitions. So I think that is very sound advice, Steve. Now, in terms of back to the idea of lessons learned, are there any particular books or podcasts or blogs or any coaches, or are there things that you tune into, Steve, that are top of mind for you in terms of sources of content or education, and or that you find yourself when you're networking, say with your friends at HTSA or at Infocom, that you pass on to them and say, hey, this thing was really helpful?
I don't really, I don't have anybody that I can just say, hey, Ron Callis is the guy I follow, and that's where I get all my stuff from. But, LinkedIn is a great source of, different information and different perspectives. I also, just from a podcast perspective, how I built this is one that, I love. I don't know if you ever listen to the one about
I love how I built this podcast.
Yeah,
I'm a big listener, big fan of that show.
But when you hear about, the couple that built Cisco Systems and, sold it for nothing and, but they're both happy and it's very interesting, right? So I get inspiration from those kind of people, as well as just kind of interacting with them when I go to, I'll be coming into Indianapolis for HTSA. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs there that you get to spend time with and listen to and learn from. And so, I'm a, very interested person in other people's journeys and other people's successes. I'm not very comfortable talking about my own, but I am interested to listen to, what made somebody jump. What was the push for them to get them to start their own business? Because a lot of people talk about it, very few actually do it.
Well, and I would say often when you hear of the success stories of these businesses, or maybe there's a sale, or you hear of some, industry leader that goes on stage and talks about, their successes, what often is not part of the conversation is all the pain and challenges and lessons that have been purchased along the way. Because there's a reason not many, you've grown to a $10 million business. There's not many businesses in America, maybe the world, that have grown to be a $10 million business. You're in a very rare air when you've achieved that.
Yeah. Well, when you're not sure how you're going to make payroll, it's hard to go to bed. Right. And, I'm very fortunate that my right-hand woman, Donna, who you're very familiar with, but, she takes care of that. And, we've never missed payroll. We pay all our bills on time. And so little things that, help you sleep at night or help me sleep at night are things you have to do within your business. And, it's constantly evolving. I mean, you think you got a whip, you think you're doing great. And then all of a sudden, you're like, what just happened? Reset. Okay, here we go. And so it's hard, it's exciting, it's difficult, it's challenging, and it's rewarding. So there's a lot of things you go through, but at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that we're taking care of our people and that that they're proud to work at Texadia.
Amen. What's your opinion of traction and the EOS philosophy? I know that there's more and more EOS, what are called implementers, kind of serving or attempting to serve the resi and commercial space. We are an EOS business. We adopted that philosophy, or many of their philosophies, a couple of years ago. And I know you've read the book Traction. What's your opinion on that stuff?
Well, it's kind of a way to set internal goals and measure them, right? And it's kind of a hold yourself accountable book for how you operate your business. And from me, I am a biz dev sales yes guy, right? I am driving revenue. Absolutely, we can get it done. And then I come back and they're like, we're booked for 6 weeks. Are you nuts? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. And so, what you learn as you grow a business is the importance of process. And if you want to scale a business, you can't wing it. And because you'll get exposed. You won't, especially on a commercial job. We're running behind. We're the last guy in on a project. Okay, yeah, we're 2 weeks out. Well, I've got you scheduled here. I don't have time in 2 weeks. Figure it out. So, process is really, and even if you just take a couple things, right, from a kickoff meeting to how you start a project, to sharing information within the team, to drawings, to the expectation of the deliverable, programming, client sign off. What are you doing? How do you do it? And what is that client experience like? So, for us, I wish we were better at it. I wish I could snap my fingers and we'd be perfect. It's constantly evolving for us.
Got it. No, that makes sense. What are this is a topic that I've been working on here in my business. And so it's of particular interest personally. And I find myself asking a lot of the business owners and the more successful business owners, what they do in this regard. What is your cadence or methodology around meetings? Like, what types of meetings do you have? And do you critique or challenge yourself to say, are these meetings really necessary? i.e., how do you have only the right, air quotes again, amount of meetings that are high performance meetings? They're productive and effective without wasting time.
It's one of the reasons I started my business. I was so frustrated with the meetings that I would go to. I was like, what's the point? What are we doing here? One of my biggest pet peeves is a vendor who comes in and wants 90 minutes of my time to tell me how a television operates. I know what it does. I know how it works. What do I need to know about selling it? And you want to take up 90 minutes of 7 people on my team's time. Okay, you want to pay me 10 grand for that time. And so, I set limits when I have vendors in. They come in for lunch, and they buy us lunch. And, so I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And I want to respect those guys because they are very important partners for us. But internally, I don't like people that make a 30-minute meeting last an hour. And so, we have great meeting rooms in our space. We built them out for our clients to see. But have a purpose, have a point. Going back to planes, trains, and automobiles, it's so much more enjoyable for the listener. And respect other people's time. That really is what I see that goes on with meetings. And Ron, you can ask some of my sales guys. When I hit my threshold with a vendor, I just leave, right? So that's how I let them know that they're over their time. So,
what's an example? You can name them or not, but of a meeting or a vendor. It could be the person or it could be the brand. Maybe they've systematized it through their company, of someone that you think really does an amazing job of delivering the valuable information in the right amount of time. And they do that month in, month out, quarter in, quarter out. Anyone that resonates with you is really, hitting triples or home runs with you and your team regularly?
Well,
not to throw anyone under the bus, but is there anyone that we could allot and say, man, I really value or appreciate the method of what they do? Or is everyone on border of being okay?
I don't want to say any specific vendors, but there are groups that come in and, we don't need to see the PowerPoint, right? I know what a set of balance does. I know what a transmitter receiver does. I know what a switcher does. Let's talk about how it's going to add value to our clients and get to know each other and build relationships to where my salespeople know they can call you if they've got an issue or they've got a challenge with a design. Now, if it's a new technology, something we haven't seen, which is highly unlikely, but maybe Crestron's coming out with a new product and a new launch, sure, we're going to take a look at it. We want to understand the value in the marketplace and do that. So, video conferencing cameras, yeah, 4K, pan, tilt, zoom. Where are we going to go after that, right?
Right.
So it's just a matter of they got a job to do. I understand that, but I
be efficient. Be mindful. This is great listening tips. If there's any manufacturers or vendors, by the way, I've been working with you and Donna for a number of years now. And I know if I'm going into a meeting, I better be prepared with what point I'm there to make. And I'm going to deliver it. I'm going to field questions and then we're going to part. And
Ron,
those are the best meetings.
It doesn't help that I'm, off the charts ADD and, I lose interest right away, right? If it's not something that's interesting to me. So, every time we get together and, we kind of have a focus, we get to it and we achieve what we're trying to do. And we've been doing a lot of work together and really looking forward to the result of it. So.
No, amen. I appreciate that. How are you going to continue growing? What sort of technologies, whether that's verticals or technology solutions, have you, Steve Burke, really excited about the future?
So, to me, we're probably inning 2 of the Internet of Things. Just the impact of the network on the home, and the calls we get of the DIYers saying, I can't get this to work. I'm trying to do this. My kids are playing Xbox. I'm like, why don't you call Amazon tech support and get them to help you, because that's where you bought the products, right? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm a professional integrator. We build custom networks. We put our name behind them. We manage them. We manage the technology we put in. That to me is just going to continue to grow, right? As you look at the control of lighting, LED lighting, shades, when does 8K transition happen? It's insane with all the legacy technology that's out there, and you're trying to get it to work. In regards to, commercially with how we present our business, it's about service and support. At the end of the day, I've got a lot of structured cabling companies like electrical contractors that are bidding AV projects. They come in, they do them, and then they disappear because they don't know how to service and maintain. They're not interested in servicing and maintaining. They're interested in moving on to the next big project. My approach and our team's approach is to try to build long-term relationships, answer the phone, provide a high level of service, and be a trusted partner. I mean, it's just, it's easy to say, it's way harder to do, but the old adage is you get 80% of your business from 20% of your clients. That is a metric that I could go to pretty much any business, and I guarantee it's accurate. And so how do you focus on taking care of the people that you have gone out and built? So that's part one. Part two is I've hired a group out of Florida to help me with my search engine optimization. And we are rebuilding our website. We are rebuilding our presence on Google. You may know them. It's One Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
But, I want Google to be the top salesperson at Texadia Systems. And I want you to find Texadia if you are trying to build a new house, if you are looking at upgrading your boardroom and you have horrendous sound and you don't know about echo cancellation or acoustic treatments. And so there's all these different avenues with how the world's evolving and changing, right? 2021, where will we be in 2023, 2025? It's a combination of all these things. And, then having a technical, strong sales force that can come in and do a consultative needs analysis to our clients and solve their problems. That's the long answer to that, Ron, but I'm excited about all these opportunities that come in, and I'll give you an example. We had one come in 6 weeks ago, and I thought it was a service issue. I sent it to my service team. It was in a legacy Lutron system. He sold $9,000 and then just sent him a quote for $85 to redo the whole thing, $85,000. And he thought that it was just a small system. So you never know. You've got to keep pushing those buttons and going through all the different sales channels that are out there, and position your business, right? It's marketing is incredibly important, and you got to do it. You got to get it to the right audience at the right time.
Looking at service and the idea of, I don't want to overly formalize it, but I'll say maintenance agreements, or really it could be service philosophy from your company to your customers. And then the idea, if you put that into a contract or something formal that they agree to, maybe they pay something monthly. What have you learned from your experience, your multi-decade experience running that in the commercial world? And are there practices that then have transitioned effectively to the residential world that have made you better positioned to serve your customers?
Well, we're still old school in that we don't outsource our service, right? It's all internal. We've evaluated it. We'll continue to evaluate it. I think it's a great idea on paper. But we build relationships with people through our service department. And I'm very hesitant to give up those relationships. On the commercial side, it's one of those big challenges, right? AV is, we had a client, we did a $400,000 project a year and a half ago, and the guy's like, I have no interest in video conferencing. Okay, well, we're going to run an extra Cat 6 just in case you change your mind. In June, he's like, hey, can we get video conferencing in? We're like, yeah, you're ready to roll, man. We actually ran the cable. But we have a service and maintenance contract with that person. So, one, it's some stickiness to the client. If you really want to manage a service contract appropriately, do your service visits, document your service visits, document the service calls, and showcase the value that you've brought the client. We work for a large commercial real estate company that has buildings all over the country. They don't want to manage these conference rooms. They put them in and they're like, man, who's got it? And so nobody really wants to, and nobody has that expertise. And so what we've done is help them standardize on equipment. Let's get the same products in every conference room so that the end users know how to use it. And then let's come up with a service agreement with how we do it. So, one of the things that we do at Texadia that is a huge differentiator for us is anytime somebody comes to your house, comes to your business, talks to you, you're going to get a report with pictures of what we did or what we're going to do or what challenges we ran into. And so it's one of our core values. It's communication. It's one of the hardest things to effectively do with people. It's very hard, and you look
easy to say, hard to do.
Gosh, but you just look at an email, right? And somebody takes it, as a harsh tone and gets upset, and you're like, well, no, I didn't intend it that way. And so, you want to give everybody, going back to giving everybody the chance to be successful, but communicating those things with your client really ensures the success and ultimately can help you build a long-term relationship. And that's what we strive for. We're not a one and done. We're man, we want to be with you till you sell or you're no longer in business.
So to pull the thread on that, to be specific or granular, if you're willing to share, and I'll just take it residential then commercial. On residential, do all of your residential customers get offered a service plan, and do they sign up for some level of service? And if so, does it happen up front or at the end of the sale?
Yeah, we're actually working through that. So,
okay.
My assumption, right, going back to when I make assumptions, that all my salespeople have that in there and that they're positioning that within that. I found out that wasn't the case. They were scared of it, didn't want to lose the deal, didn't see the value. And so now it's, part of our proposal process that it's included. And you should have that discussion when you have the proposal with a client. It's a very thin line to walk to not give a client service, right? But, what I constantly try to tell people is, you pay $200 a month to have your pool cleaned. You pay $300 to have your lawn mowed. Is your internet or your technology for your business important to you? It is. Help me help you, because I hire great people to help service and maintain it. I train them. we constantly want to respond to their needs in a efficient manner, and I can't do that for free.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's important to you, then here's the opportunity, and here's how you can do it. And what's amazing is a lot of people do get it, right? You would think that a lot of people, we still get some no's, and they call us, and you're like, yeah, we can be there, and right now it's 10 days, right? Which is insane, but that's the labor market for us. But if you have a service contract with us, we're probably going to pull a tech off and get somebody over there, and I'll probably pay that tech overtime to make sure that I get that client taken care of, because you're
going to prioritize that client that's under a service.
They made a commitment to us that they want to pay for that service, and I want to meet that expectation.
I'm mindful of time, and so I just want to connect the dots there. Is there anything different there as it relates to commercial, or is what you just described similar or analogous as to how you think about or manage the commercial side in service?
No, the commercial side is much different in that the businesses operate from 8 to 5. And there's nothing worse for a client who's watching, the last episode of Game of Thrones, and the TV goes off and 9 o'clock, and do we need to do a Apple reboot remotely with Oversee, right? So I would say it's easier on the commercial side, and in that, for the clients that are publicly traded that have to do earnings calls, hey, can we come do a full systems test the day before, please? Right? And let's go through it, make sure you're comfortable. And if I need to have somebody on site for that call, just to make sure, let's do that, right? So it goes back to defining those expectations within the client, and whether they have the resources or they need us to help them.
Makes sense. You mentioned the word labor, and you and most of the folks listening are, certainly if they're in the United States, are very busy right now, particularly if they have a residential division. Residential right now has been popping, commercial's ramping up. How are you guys managing the concept of growth while you have a bandwidth restrictor in people?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer, or at least a way that you're thinking about it? Because I know it's a lot of the conversations that I'm personally having with people.
Well, you got to get outside the box, right? And you've got to look at different types of industries to bring in people. And so for our perspective, when we bring somebody in, if you want to be a technician at Texadia, it's really important that you have attention to detail, right? And so if I were to go and apply to be a technician at Texadia, I would not get the job, because that's not who I am or what I am. I'm a big picture guy and moving 100 miles an hour. And so, investing in training, and you're gonna swing and miss, right? That's really just a mantra for business, but you got to keep swinging. And so, we've had a couple people in this week from different industries that are interested in making that transition, and we're going to make them an offer, and then we're going to train them, and we're going to make an investment in them. Are we going to be successful? I don't know, but being in Texas, we are fortunate that people are calling us as well, saying, hey, I'm a, Crestron programmer. Do you have any work for me? Yeah, we do. We'd love to talk to you. So, Ron, maybe if I would have started another company back in 13, it might have been AV recruiting.
Yep.
Because I get calls from those people every day, but it goes back to why you got to take care of your people, right?
Well, what I heard you tell me is you're pulling in people from outside of the industry. You're looking at the type of people that you want within the given skill set needed for the role in your company, and you and your team are going out and soliciting and in fact looking at people that maybe don't have all the training to do the job, but they're the type of people you want doing the job.
Well, I just hired a sales guy with absolutely no AV experience. an electrical engineer from Texas A&M, as smart a guy as you're going to find, but a guy who has been doing sales for 25 plus years, knows the process, knows how to meet people, and I can teach him AV, right? I don't have to teach him sales process. I don't have to teach him how to take care of people and how to drive a sales cycle. So is it a risk? Absolutely. Is it a chance I'm willing to take? I did, and I'm excited about it, and I really feel like I'm going to be successful with it.
Well, I think that's brilliant, and I don't hear enough of that, frankly. Our industry has an opportunity to step up and bring in outside talent and train them up, hire great people and bring them into our space.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's definitely what we practice here at One Firefly, and it sounds like that's what you guys do as well, and that's maybe one of the many reasons you guys are so successful. Steve, it's been an hour, my friend. For those that are listening or watching and they want to learn more from you and or Texadia, what would be the best ways for them to reach you or to get in contact?
Burke at texadiasystems.com or www.texadiasystems.com. We've got a great form you can fill out, and comes right to me, and somebody will call you within an hour, I can assure you. So thank you very much for having me on. It's great talking business with you, and just fun to be with you. So thank you.
Steve, you are welcome, my friend. Thank you for coming on the show, and we'll definitely be talking to you soon.
All right, man. Thanks, Ron.
All right, folks, there you have it. The one and only Steve Burke, CEO of Texadia Systems. He had a long career running a commercial integration firm, and then in 2013, went out on his own and launched the business that we all know now as Texadia. And it's really inspiring to look at their growth and really what they've become in their marketplace. Really neat business. I know my team and I have enjoyed getting to know Donna and Steve and the team over there. So on that note, folks, we got lots more shows scheduled. Actually, I was just working with my team earlier this week on our scheduling, and we have really a packed schedule of guests for the months into the future here. So definitely stay tuned. If you have not already done so, I'll put our podcast art. You can just go to your favorite podcast software and just search Automation Unplugged. You can subscribe. And that way you get all of the weekly shows in that format. And on that note, I am going to sign off. I'm going to thank you all. I do see a closing comment here with Paul. Actually, I'll go ahead and put you on the screen here, Paul. Paul says, thanks, Steve. Agree. Finding net new talent is our #1 growth issue. Paul, you know that I completely agree with you on that regard. So thanks for that comment. And folks, if you want to get in contact with me or my team, definitely reach out, visit our website, or give us a call. And hopefully here in the coming months, I'll see many of you in person live at one of the upcoming many trade show events. So on that note, I'm going to sign off, and thank you all so much. See you next time.